Some people just want to watch the world burn. But that isn't you. You just want to see all that oppose you dissolve into lovely piles of sad flesh. That, or you're just here for the novelty of face-tanking one of the strongest abilities in the game. You are the most capable killer of all things smaller than a refrigerator. But will this ending of Zedlings be from ballistics with an identity crisis, or from the purest definition of fire? Pyromaniac. You are here to watch Zeds writhe in pain, stumbling around desperately trying to peel the fire off of their burning flesh while they bump into their allies and spread the curse of a slow and agonizing death. The first skill facilitating this criminally sadistic hobby of boiling people alive is a 35% damage increase to all weapons that would give Smokey the Bear a heart attack. You also told your waiter that you wanted your Zeds well done, so your skill aptly named Barbecue increases the duration of your burn effect by 150%. What, are you not impressed yet? Okay, fine, here. We'll season your ammo with a little bit of napalm to make your shots extra spicy by increasing your burn effect by 150%. Again. For those of you who flunked out a 3rd grade math, that means every time you treat a Zed like I treat an unwanted arachnid in my room, that unfortunate victim gets the privilege of suffering for 5 times longer than usual. But wait, there's more! That very same skill turns your fire from a menace into a plague. If Zeds don't participate in social distancing, your fire will spread between them, resulting in kills you had 0 active participation in getting. And despite your immunity to your own flames, you don't want Zeds desperately clawing onto you in a plea for mercy. To solve this, you've upped the temperature of your munitions a few degrees, allowing you to stumble your pleading opponents at point-blank range. Lastly, we have an ability that nearly all Firebug players are addicted to. During Zed time, your Infernomancy transcends all bounds of reality in the most American of ways. You fire, and swing, in real time and do not exhaust any of your ammunition in the process. Basically, every time you feel that signature slowdown, you are going to start vomiting out fighter planes worth of napalm no matter how little life there is left to destroy. Why? Because it's funny. Your weapons are any firearms you mistook for being normal before realizing they fired thermite instead of lead. Starting off is the Dragon's Breath, a pump-action shotgun that fires, you guessed it, Dragon's Breath shells. With its low cost, high damage, and ability to do this, the Dragon's Breath has been a favorite secondary and primary among Firebugs ever since the class was conceived. We'll get to that. Next we have the MAC-10. I know. You wouldn't think it was a Firebug weapon based on the fact that it doesn't have a name pertaining to the craft of arson, but I assure you, this suppressed SMG spits enough fire that you might start calling it MC-10 and give it a flat-brimmed hat. As you've probably assumed, it fires in full auto. You do have the option to switch to semi-auto, but that's not fun. Following that is the HRG Incendiary Rifle. Unlike its demolitionist counterpart with its half-and-half perk scaling going on, this rifle is all fire all the time. Like the name suggests, its bullets are incendiary, similar to the previous weapons, and utilizing your middle mouse will fire an incendiary grenade to blast and burn your enemies. It is worth noting that these are grenades, and not the Molotovs you are accustomed to with this class. Next we have the Dethroner of the Dragon's Breath, the HRG Dragon Blaze. The flaming shrapnel fired from this modified Doomstick is so scalding that the barrel glows a brilliantly concerning orange every time you use it. Your primary fire sends out your pellets perfectly vertically, and your alt fire horizontal. Tragically, that means you can't do the velocity thing like the other break-action shotguns. But you can do this. And finally, we have the Helios Rifle, the most expensive Firebug weapon and the only instance of microwave damage on this half of the weapon list. A cruelty only befitting the most heinous of Zeds, microwave damage causes their bodies to inflate due to their blood becoming a gas in their capillaries. Oh, right, the weapon itself. Full auto and 3-round burst. Inferno. You've decided to take the floor is lava to the next level and coax Zeds through carpets of fire to see what happens to their bodies when they are burning at 2 different rates. Oh wow, they died. Your first skill doubles the magazine size and fuel tank capacity of all your weapons. Sadly, this does not apply to your single-shot flare gun. I will never understand why you limit me in this way, Tripwire. Let me spam my fire carpets! Speaking of ground fires, your next skill cranks up the heat, turning your environment-based combustion from an orange into a beautiful blue that does 3 times damage, and fries the tendons of anyone incompetent enough to trample upon them, causing Zeds to be slowed. But replacing the ground with the fires of hell just isn't enough damage for you, so we've spiked the Zeds' water supply with nitroglycerin, giving them a 30% chance to explode on death. This explosion can stun enemies and deals damage, which can lead to unexpected genocide in the early waves. After that, we have an increased range for your starter weapon, as well as the flamethrower and microwave gun. Yeah, that's it. And then we have the Z-Time ability. Your Inferno skill won't tell you this, but while you're in Z-Time, enemies take 50% more burning damage and are slowed by 30%. What it does tell you about is that your fires become an airborne pathogen that spreads across enemies in an 8-meter radius around each flaming Zed. Though, when you are soloing as Firebug, it is nearly impossible to see this in effect because everything is already on fire to begin with. I spent like an hour trying to demonstrate the skill, and all I got was this. See that? Right there? The Edar without a head, whose body is as red as my face when I get a compliment? There's your example. Your weapons are any fire starters that had the label "Warning, Risk of Annihilation" on them before you burned it off and then sprinted into a gas station. Your first weapons are the Spitfires, a set of dual revolvers pulled straight out of my dieselpunk fantasies. These janktastic pistols fire tiny rockets that explode into small balls of flame on impact. Following that is the HRG Scorcher. This reskinned grenade pistol fires out flares that stick into enemies and inject their bodies with that fiery goodness. Oh, and really quickly, I accidentally rediscovered that you can sprint backwards in this game. Why? I don't know. So you can record a Scrake with a firework stuck under their skin, I guess? But this beautiful weapon has an alt-fire as well. Using middle mouse breaks the flare inside the barrel, causing you to fire out a projectile that hemorrhages flames down upon unsuspecting aggressors. This is especially useful if you have a conga line of Zeds approaching you, or if you want to quickly redo the floors of a hallway with the Firebug special. Next is the Flamethrower, a true staple of Arsonist classes around the gaming universe. You know, like Pyro, and Driller, and some other ones. I can't think of anything else to say about it, so I'll just quote the flavor text. Fire mode shoots flame. That's it. Now it's time for the microwave gun. This wiggly boy shoots out a beam of concentrated radiation to inflate, and subsequently explode, anything on the business end of it. But vaporizing your problems with a mere single laser is not your only option. If things get a little too close to your no-go zone, you can use middle mouse to send out a wave of concentrated pain and suffering, also known as heat. This pulse deals damage in a wide area and can push back anything that isn't bolted to the ground. Lastly is the Huss Cannon. Those flamey boys wandering around and trying to suicide bomb you have a nifty piece of tech replacing one of their hands. So you figured you'd tear that bastard out of its socket and use it as a gun. I'm so proud of you, you little psychopath. With this in hand, you can fire little tiny flamelets at enemies, or give it a good charge to unleash a fireball of explosive proportions. And I mean that as explosive from a mechanical standpoint. Despite your immunity to your own flames at level 25, you can still damage yourself with this weapon if you are not careful or just want to die after recording 2 hours of footage on Dissector.
So I made something special for you.
Oh, you fool!